Hello, folks. I am your host, the Dynamite Crypt, and today is your reviews. First up, as always, well, and which book are we reviewing today? Secret Empire #2. First up, as I always do in these videos, is the non-spoiler review. We've got writer Nick Spencer, artist Andrea Sorrentino, uh, and Rod Reyes. Letter Travis Lanham, and cover Mark Brooks. Uh, what to say about the story? Well, the story itself it is a good continuation. This book kind of picks up a little better than #1 did. #1 was, like I said, a little all over the place. This one is kind of more story driven. Now it's about the um, heroes, um, and it's a good story overall. Uh, the colors are good; they're nice and dark, and they kind of give off the disparity that the heroes in this book are facing. Uh, the overall art is well drawn. I don't know what's going on today. I'm a little itchy, and everything is great. Uh, Again, I'd have to say that my favorite art thus far is, again, the covers. Um, I'm particularly liking these covers. But anyway, as I say, at the end of all these, this has been my Secret Empire non-spoiler review. I'll see you on the other side. Now, if you have stuck by me, that means you are open for the spoilers. So, where do we start? Okay, so we open up it, first, at the end of Secret Empire 1, uh, Captain America gives a news conference, and during this news conference, orders are given to have Rick Jones executed and to go after where they suspect this underground is uh, that we were introduced to in the previous um, inclination. So basically, Secret Empire #2 opens with the fallout of um, Secret Empire 1, with uh, Vegas basically being utterly destroyed and the hideout of the underground being demolished. Also, in this opening, we see the our heroes that are in Vegas, which consists of basically Hawkeye, Black Widow, um, Tony Stark, um, Ant Man, Giant Man. Though I think those two got crushed because um, they're not shown looking through the rubble. But basically, our heroes are seen looking through the rubble, and as the story goes along, and I didn't mention this, the story is also being narrated. And it's being narrated, uh, I'd say by you, the reader, because there really seems to be no apparent uh, narrator. But the narrator basically said, that we were looking for something, we were looking for hope, and at this point in time, it was just nowhere to be found. Uh, uh, Next, we are brought into the dark dimension where we come across uh, Luke Cage and uh, Luke Cage and Iron Fist, and they have been with a slew of other heroes. Each faction has been of heroes has been kind of dismantled into different areas, and Iron Fist and Luke Cage and some others have been uh, relegated to um, the Dark Dimension, and they're in Dark Dimension, New York. And anyway, it has them, and they're rummaging through the dark, and they're trying to find something. Well, they're rummaging through the dark, and they say that they've got to hurry before the lights come on because they know that in the dark dimension, once the lights go on, it's kind of a beacon for uh, disaster. So you're trying to hurry up and find something when all of a sudden the lights come on. And when the lights come on, the demons come out, which I'm guessing that's kind of what the dark dimension is basically a demon hideout of sorts. But anyway, the demons come out, and Luke Cage and Iron Fist are left to fend for themselves, and they destroy all the demons. Then all of a sudden, Jessica Jones comes in to play. Uh, Jessica Jones pops in and says, after all the demons have been dealt with, Jessica Jones comes in and says, "Oh, come on, guys, we gotta go. Time's up." Um, we next learn. Uh, so they get out of there and they go back to their hideout, and we learn that there's what they were looking for was antibiotics, and why they needed antibiotics is because there has been an outbreak of Hep A. Uh, I always considered there was a Hep A because there's a Hep B and C, so Why wouldn't there be a Hep A? But anyway, there's a great outbreak of Hep A because of uh, contaminated water. And the like. But anyway, also being stuck in the dark dimension, it is shown that Dagger is being used as the only light source of the dark dimension. Uh, Followed by, so they get back to the hideout where they find no antibiotics, and so they're unable to help the people that are in the dark dimension. Because there's not only heroes, but there's also a group of citizens that have been uh, regulated there. But anyway, next thing we know, we're in the middle of a group of thugs breaks in and all of a sudden um, demands the medicine as they needed to. Well, there's a sort of a standoff. Then a voice comes out of nowhere and breaks the silence. And out from the shadows, well, the silence is broken with a hello. And then out of the silence comes, and then Fisk, Wilson Fisk, everybody. Uh, aka Pink Kingpin, as we all know him. Uh, Fisk stops the possible robbery. He goes into this spiel about how this is just human nature, that people want and desire what other people have, and yada yada yada. You know, talks about the lion and the antelope, and how you can't blame the lion for tearing apart the antelope, and all this. But then at the end, which doesn't seem to correlate really, but at least didn't to me. But then he goes on to say how if you turn to me, I'll make sure that this doesn't happen again. And he takes out some of the thugs, and we learn that some of the thugs are actually his. So, and he says, when the sun comes up and we are out of this dark dimension, basically, I want you all to remember that it was Wilson Fisk that saved you. So we are back on the mount, and this is where our heroes, like um, Black Widow, Hawkeye, one of the Spider-Men, and a group of heroes. I'll just say that a group of heroes end up, due to the fact that their original hideout is demolished. And while there, uh, Black Widow comes to the conclusion that Captain America must die for what he's done. Um, but as she's making a case for that, all of a sudden, Tony Stark speaks up, and says, "Wait a minute. I think we have an alternative." And they basically all don't trust him very much because this AI is a copy of a time when Tony Stark was a drunk. So his train of thought isn't really what they don't trust him. So he says, "Well, since you don't really trust me all that much, why don't you trust this?" And in the last one, we meet Rayshawn, who gives them a zip drive, and he plays the zip drive, and it's none other than Rick Jones himself. Sorry, Rayshawn gives him the zip drive from Rick Jones. Anyway, and through the zip drive, we learn that Rick Jones has taken it upon himself to hack and download all of the files from the um, Hydra Hydra agents files, and we learn that there is a possible way to get Captain America back to its original state, and that what happened was um, Captain America was um, not really brainwashed, but his reality was altered by none other than the cosmic cube. Uh, After that, uh, we go back to Washington, where uh, Captain America is in a couple different scenes. First off, he gives um, a morning um, a morning conference for all those that have died, both friend and foe. And then he goes on, and he's in his throne room, sitting room, whatever you want to call it, and he's talking specifically to Zemo. Um, and in his talk with Zemo, he he talks about how he knows about the cube, um, and that fragments need to be found. That's the thing we learn through Rick Jones too, is that the cube has been pretty much destroyed, but as long as the fragments can be brought together, they can still alter things. So anyway, we go back to um, Captain America talking to Zemo, and we learn that also Captain America knows about um, these fragments. Uh, Back on the Mount, Black Widow is kind of looking out a window of sorts, and she is still contemplating going after Captain America. This time, sort of by herself, um, since everyone else seems to be against her. Um, she but as she sits there thinking about it, Hawkeye walks up to her, and they resume to talk, and they start talking to one another, and things quickly go from talking about Captain America to talking about each other, and how the old feelings for one another has crept back, and how every time they come together, they sort of drift apart, and uh, they're not sure it's gonna work, and all this. Well, anyway, this ends with a kiss, and we think, yay, Black Widow and Hawkeye back together. Yeah. Well, they talk and they keep talking, uh, and then it pretty much ends with, if this doesn't work, if we can't find this cosmic cube and make Captain America whole again, are you finally going to give up? You know, Black Widow says to Hawkeye. And Hawkeye's like, well, you know how I am. I need to find Cap. Cap is my best friend. Well, then it ends with a punch. Uh, so Black Widow takes off, and our hero is left on the floor. Our hero Hawkeye is left on the floor. And anyway, 24 hours later, uh, Black Widow is in Colorado, where uh, the younger members of the underground uh, meet her. Um, Members such as Ben Riley, Spider-Man, Cho Hulk, Falcon, Wasp, Ironheart, and there's one other, and I can't remember. And at first, Black Widow thinks that they're there to try and stop her, when in reality, um, they're there because they want to join her, and they want to help with this situation, and they want to help take down Captain America. Well, they all agree that this needs to be done, but then we switch over to yet another group of heroes. And this group of heroes, well, no, first we switch over. Hawkeye comes back from his sleep, I guess you could call it, and wakes up, and he says to Tony Stark, who's the only member that's there, and says, hey, by the way, um, Black Widow's gone. And at first there's a little crack about, what you mean, like, gone out to get groceries? And Hawkeye is like, no, gone as in she took off. Uh, she doesn't plan on coming back. And then it is decided, well, with them gone, we're gonna have to develop a new team. Uh, and we find out that our new team is Hercules, couple others that I don't recognize. And that's just how I'm going to put it. Next is the next grade, the narrator comes back on, and we're in Montana. This time, Scott and a few others. I guess Scott is still alive. Uh, and a few others are out and about, and they're looking for Falcon in Montana. Uh, then we brought in we bring in the narrator, and it is basically said that they have found hope, but hope can be found in the strangest of places. And we were brought in on a scene of a woman running for her life in a nightgown of sorts. And she's running away from, I'm going to say, the reptile gang, because it looks like Copperhead and a few other snake looking guys. But anyway, all of a sudden this apparition looking thing comes out of the woodwork. And the apparition thing holds out its hand, and the woman says, "Well, who are you?" And we learn that it is none other than Steve Rogers, the Captain America. Big secret revealed. Anyway, that is Secret Empire #2, and I found it to be a better book than Secret Empire #1, but it still had its moments where it was good and bad. The overall art was great. I highly recommend it. Very dark in tone, very dark uh, in style, but still very good. Alright, folks, this has been my spoiler and non spoiler reviews. So, as I say at the end of all my videos, I will see you on the other side.